Hey Cyber Recruit, in this video we're going to be exploring the best way to break into cybersecurity in 2025, even if you've got no experience. And by the end of this video, you'll have your own clear roadmap to getting into cybersecurity. Hey, my name's AJ. I've been in cybersecurity for the last 9 years, and on this channel we teach all things cybersecurity for beginners. So let's get into it. So step one then, you want to stay informed about the cybersecurity world. Cybersecurity is always changing. First of all, you want to figure out if it's something that you're going to actually enjoy. And the best way to do that is to start reading through some cybersecurity articles, following security researchers on X, on Twitter, for example. So some great places that you can start are things such as Bleeping Computer. So these are some of the latest articles. They're always posting about certain vulnerabilities, different things that are going on in the cybersecurity industry. And ultimately, when you become a cybersecurity professional, you always need to stay up to date. So when you're starting out, this is always a great place to start to kind of help you get in that mindset and actually begin reading through a lot of these articles to actually think if you are actually going to enjoy this. You have to see if are you a technical person? Is this something that kind of comes naturally to you? Well, being able to know that is by going through some of these articles. You're not going to be expected to know everything, so don't think because I read through these articles, I don't know, I can't be a cybersecurity professional. No, what you want to do is just go through here, start to get into kind of the tech mindset, start to look into this. If you're starting to enjoy it just based on reading a lot of these articles and this information, then likely cybersecurity is the right move for you. So Bleeping Computer is a great one. There's also Krebs on security. This is a really great one. Start to read through some of these articles. And like I said, some of these do get quite technical. Don't worry if you don't know all of the information in these articles. That's not the point here. You just want to try to make sure that you can kind of stay informed about what's going on in cybersecurity and actually stay up to date. And like I said, one of the other great places to do that, which I recommend doing that, is on X. So X is a great place to actually keep up to date with what's going on in cybersecurity. And you can come and follow me, but there's some other people on here who actually post about much more interesting stuff than myself. What you want to be following are things like MyDFIR, for example, other people such as Cloud. So you're looking here for kind of different security researchers, pen testers, bug bounties, red teamers, for example, different cybersecurity enthusiasts, different cybersecurity educators, for example. This is what's going to help you stay up to date. And I always recommend every day looking through X. Once you're following these people, this is not only going to help you stay informed, but it's also going to help you understand if this is something that you're going to actually enjoy as well. And another great thing to follow on here is actually threat intelligence updates as well. These kind of things are also going to help you keep very informed in the cybersecurity industry. So step 2 then, you want to get some basic computing, networking and security knowledge along with some basic programming skills. Don't be alarmed though, I'm only saying basic programming. I've been in cybersecurity for the last 9 years. I can't personally program myself. You don't need to be able to program to get into cybersecurity, but as I explained, it does come with some of its benefits if it is a skill that you have. But first of all then, you want to get some basic computing knowledge. So you want to start to understand how computers actually talk to one another. So the CompTIA Network Plus is a great certification for that, because ultimately you need to know how a network actually works, understand about the different devices, firewalls, for example, different servers, endpoints that are all on a network, because ultimately, as a cybersecurity professional, you need to learn how to actually protect these networks. So then once you've looked into your networking, you want to look into your security foundation, and CompTIA Security Plus is just the best one out there for that as well. So combine these two together and they're going to give you above basic actually knowledge in networking and security. So you mentioned some basic programming skills. So like I said, I can't personally program. I haven't been able to. I'm a senior cybersecurity analyst. It would have been beneficial if it's something that I've learned, but thankfully now we've got tools such as ChatGPT, Grok, for example, that can actually do a lot of this programming for us. So that's why I say with some basic programming skills, the reason is that you don't want to let these tools just do the programming for you and you not being able to actually read the code, because there could be a chance that one of these ChatGPT or Grok style tools could end up spitting out malicious code that you may put into production without actually knowing. Like I mentioned then, so you can come in here and you can ask something like Grok, can you code in Python a simple script that will analyze a list of IP addresses and tell me the source location. So previously when I first started, the ability to script in cybersecurity was always a real benefit, and it still is a great skill to have. It's not a must-have, but many companies may ask for it, but it doesn't mean that they will always get analysts or cybersecurity professionals who can code, because now these days you can see tools like this can generate scripts relatively easy. The only thing is that you want to be able to read these scripts. That's why I say try to learn some basic programming, but you can also use ChatGPT or Grok to kind of help you with that as well. So it's showing you here even how to use the script. So before we continue, can you explain this script line by line? So the idea here then is this is going to give you an explanation of what it's actually doing. So again, this can also help build that basic programming language as well. So like I said, you want to be getting your networking and your security fundamentals, and then try and build some basic programming skills as well. But you don't need to be an expert programmer. Like I said, I can't personally program, and I've been in cybersecurity for the last 9 years. So step 3 then is gaining security-specific credentials and some hands-on security experience related to a particular job. So this is what we call the pathway to becoming a cybersecurity professional. And this was tailored towards becoming a cybersecurity analyst like myself. So the initial security-specific credentials, so CompTIA Network Plus and Security Plus, like we've mentioned, help build those foundations and build those cybersecurity fundamentals. Also, the hands-on labs as well, hugely beneficial because they can give you those hands-on practical skills that you need as well. The only thing about these two, they're not tailored towards specific jobs. So this is where, once you get to this point of the pathway, is where we recommend picking a specific job. The one that we suggest is cybersecurity analyst or SOC analyst or threat analyst. The reason for that is because it usually has the lower barrier of entry out of all the cybersecurity jobs that are out there. But this is this section now where you want to be going to research specific jobs, seeing which ones interest you, see what you actually want to do, and then only focus your learning towards that job role and gaining the hands-on skills from that job role as well. So if you did take our suggestion and were interested in the cybersecurity analyst role, then the type of things that you would want to focus on, we have listed here. So SIEM, so it stands for Security Information Event Management Tool. So this is a tool that all cybersecurity analysts are using on a daily basis. Microsoft Sentinel being one of the most popular ones. We've got Splunk, Elastic. I've got videos on this channel as well which show you how to set up Elastic SIEM, for example. But ultimately, what you're going to be doing is trying to get some hands-on experience with a SIEM tool. Instant response then. So I'm a senior cybersecurity analyst, but I also do a lot of instant response. So what I use is the SANS instant response plan, and this is what most companies use. And what this does, it details the steps that you will need to take to prepare for a cybersecurity incident and the steps that you will need to take once an incident is identified. So you want to get familiar with this instant response plan because most companies are using this, and it's going to detail the steps that you need to take during each phase of the incident as well. So then cloud attack and defense. So attackers and companies then are all moving to the cloud, your AWS, your Azure, for example. We need to understand how to actually defend the cloud as well. So you need to learn how attackers are attacking the cloud and how to actually defend against it. And a great thing for that is actually the MITRE ATT&CK framework, where they've got this enterprise matrix and then they've got this cloud matrix here. So ultimately what this is doing is detailing the steps that an attacker will take when they're trying to compromise cloud infrastructure or cloud application. And then within that step, then there's specific techniques. So the techniques allow the attacker to achieve that particular step. So you're not expected to know every single one of these, but by going through each one of these, it's going to help you figure out how an attacker will move through a network or through a cloud application or through cloud infrastructure, for example, to ultimately be able to achieve their goal. So in interviews, for example, you could be asked what is a persistence technique that could be used in the cloud. Then, for example, create an account. This is going to tell you exactly what this technique is all about, give you some real world examples, which will also help you talk in interviews. That will again show your interest and show that you're staying informed, like we showed in step 1. But ultimately, it's going to show that you want to be able to detail how to detect and actually mitigate it, because these are the kind of things that companies are looking for, especially out of cybersecurity analysts. So that's a great thing that you want to look into. Attack types and defense techniques. So understanding the latest attacks that are out there and the most common attacks and how to actually defend against them. Again, MITRE ATT&CK framework can really help with this as well. So if we go into the enterprise matrix, you can see this is broken down into different operating systems as well. So starting to understand how attackers attack Windows devices, for example, the different steps that they will take and the different techniques that they will also try to use as well. And again, how to actually detect and mitigate it. So you want to be understanding about your phishing attacks, about your malware-based attacks, for example, but you also want to be able to go into more detail about the specific techniques that these hackers and attackers will also be using as well, because these are the kind of things that will help you stand out in those interviews. So seam detection rules, so you'll get experience with this when you're looking into different seams. So the seam detection rules, ultimately the rules that are in the seam that are used to detect malicious activity or potential malicious activity, and you'll get experience. Like I said, I've got videos on the channel explaining seam in more detail as well, but ultimately when you start exploring seams, Elastic, Microsoft Azure or Splunk, you're going to come across the seam detection rules, but usually also called correlation rules as well. But effectively they're used to detect the malicious activity in the logs that are being sent to the seam. So you imagine a network. On that network, you have servers, laptops, they send logs to the seam, and then the detection rules will look for malicious activity in those logs. If it flags it as potentially malicious, that's what alert will then get sent to the analyst, and the analyst will then have to determine if it's a true positive and it is an active attack, or maybe it's a false positive and they need to close it out and then prove the rule. So that's usually kind of the process that most analysts will go down. So then you've got threat intelligence and threat hunting. So threat intelligence is usually using open source information to try and figure out the latest attacker techniques. So like we mentioned in step 1, where you're staying informed, much of this is threat intelligence. Usually the threat intelligence within a company is tailored towards that specific company. So somebody in the kind of financial sector may want to know how hackers and attackers are targeting financial-based companies and gather that intelligence. And then once they've got that intelligence, they'll usually be performing threat hunting, which is where they'll use that intelligence to search across this customer's network to try and figure out if there could be an active attack or an active hacker in that network with the new techniques that they've discovered from threat intelligence. So then analysis tooling then, so the major one being SIEM, spoken about, but that is the main tool that cybersecurity analysts are using. So getting experience with setting this up at home, getting some hands-on experience in a SIEM is always going to be beneficial. Then a lot of the other tools then you'll learn in the CompTIA Security Plus, your firewalls, your network intrusion detection systems, your endpoint detection systems, antivirus solutions, basically any tool that sits on a network that can help a cybersecurity analyst detect malicious activity. These are the kind of things that you want to start to get some experience with. And then we've also got customer service here, so people always wonder why we add that on here. When you're starting out, especially as a cybersecurity analyst, more often than not, the best companies to go for are managed security service companies. The reason for that is that, again, they usually have a lower barrier of entry. Maybe the pay might be less, but the main thing is that you can get in there and get experience. But usually when you get in there, usually you're going to be dealing with customers. And because of that, you need to have good customer service. Mainly, you need to have the ability to kind of detail complex technical issues in a simplified way and relay that back to the customer. So these are the kind of things you want to be thinking about when you're starting out, and these are the skills that you want to focus on if you are looking to go down the cybersecurity analyst route. So then once you've started to learn these skills, what you want to do then is focus on the home projects. So the home projects is what it actually can give you the experience to start applying for these jobs that are asking for all of this experience. And the home projects need to relate to each one of these areas. So your home projects need to give you experience related to a particular job. So setting up your own SIEM at home, for example, like I mentioned, I have a video on this on YouTube. Setting up your own cloud infrastructure, so with AWS, trying to attack it and defend against it. So a lot of these projects we also actually detail in our community as well. So we've got a community on School. This is a free community, School with a K. It's called the Cyber Hub. And in the Cyber Hub, you can come and join the other members in here. You could come and speak with 4 of us as well who run the Empirical Training Cyber Hub. In here, then, you get access to Cybersecurity Fundamentals course that we created, some CompTIA Network Plus and Security Plus content from Professor Messer. He actually authorized us to actually get access to store it here and actually present it to our community as well. But you also get access to our cybersecurity projects. So a lot of the projects that can give you the hands-on experience, like setting up your own cloud lab, for example, all of these things that you can get access to for free in our community as well. You just need to go into the link underneath the video, either in the description or in the comments, and come and join the community and come and have a chat with us as well. So like I said, all of these home projects relate to each one of these areas. So once you've done that, then you need to start setting up your resume and your CV. You need to be consistent here then. The job application process, it can take time, but you need to tailor each one of your CVs and your resumes to that particular job. And like I said, even in our community, in the first week of our 8-week analyst training, you do get access to my example CV. So this is a skills-based CV. This has worked for me over the past. It's also been working for our students as well. But we've also got access to a new resume and CV template that we've also been experimenting with, and what other people who have been getting success with cybersecurity interviews have also been using this format as well. So we're always experimenting with different formats, but again, you can get access to this in our community as well. And like I said, this part is where you just need to be consistent. It takes time to apply for jobs, but you need to tailor each resume or CV to a particular job application. And you can use things like Grok, ChatGPT to be able to help you with that. But you ultimately want to be able to read through it and make sure it sounds human and it sounds like it's you, because things like that can also get flagged up. The use of AI tools can also get flagged up by these ATS application tracking tools as well. So again, this is the part where you need to be consistent. Once you're consistent and you persevere, reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn, for example, make sure that your LinkedIn is up to speed and it looks the best that it can be. Then what you want to do then is be consistent with your job applications, and ultimately then once you land yourself a role, this is where you can then look to specialize further. So if you go in as a SOC analyst, you can then look to specialize into more advanced roles if that's what you're looking to do after. So step 4 then, we briefly mentioned it, but now you want to be getting your resume and your CV ready, and also looking at making sure that your LinkedIn is looking professional. So your resume then, as I mentioned, you can use our template here. So we've got 2 templates available to us. The newest one is the one that we're testing out. But a good way to do this is that you can copy this into a tool like Grok, and you can ask it to actually tailor your resume to a particular job application, because you're going to need to do this for each job application that you do to increase the chance that it'll pass through the actual ATS tracking tool or any application tracking software that they're using. You're going to need to make sure that your CV and your resume can actually stand out. So you can ask it to please tailor my resume using the template below against the job description here as well. And then you can post that in and we hit enter. So like I said, you're going to need to add all of your experience in here as well. But ultimately, this is going to help you quickly tailor a resume or CV towards a particular job application. You're going to need to provide more detail as well. So I always like to do the how and what you have done as well, and how it relates to the particular job that you're going for. But usually if they're asking for a particular technology, maybe like Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, these are the kind of things that you want to make sure are listed in your CV. So mentions here with maintain tools such as firewalls, ITS, IPS, endpoint security solutions. So these are the kind of things you're going to want to be talking about in your actual CV and your resume. And projects then, so these are hugely important. So the projects are where you're going to be able to detail how you've got that hands-on experience. This is what companies are looking for these days. So again, this is the kind of the format that you want to go with your CV and your resume, but ultimately you need to make sure that it's tailored towards a particular job so that you can increase the chances of you actually getting through that first stage or even getting a phone screening interview as well. The other way then is obviously setting up your LinkedIn. So there's many different ways out there that you can do that. I like this article here from Iron Hack It says steps to optimize your LinkedIn, get a professional photo, compelling headline, just detailing your strengths, so cybersecurity, instant response, the skills that you built up in your projects, detailed summary, your experience section, skills and endorsements, and then different recommendations from previous managers and clients. So come in here, you want to be optimizing your LinkedIn, but not only optimizing it, when you're applying for jobs, you want to be trying to contact the recruiters on LinkedIn as well, connecting with other recruiters, chatting with people on there, so you can then start to help build up that network and that connections with other people in the industry as well. So step 5 then is where you're going to be consistently applying for those jobs. So like I keep mentioning, you need to be consistent. The job market is difficult, but there are jobs out there. You just need to be focused. You just need to make sure that you're applying for those jobs consistently. Every day you want to be trying to at least do 5 tailored job applications and 5 tailored resumes and CVs towards particular jobs. And you want to be consistently reaching out to those recruiters as well. You've got to be consistent here. When I first started, I failed countless interviews, failed many job applications. I applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs. And even in the last 3 years before I got my current job, I was still failing job applications, still failing interviews. So you can't play as a victim. You just have to be consistent here. You need to make sure that you're applying for these jobs and you're tailoring your resume. Look, the job market is hard for beginners. Let's not get that mixed up. But there are jobs available, and it looks like there are more jobs coming onto the market as well. And they need skilled cybersecurity professionals. So if you can position yourself with your projects and with your really good CV and resume, and you can get in front of recruiters, like I said, speaking to them on LinkedIn, you've got to be consistent, connecting with them, just having a general chat with them just to see what jobs are available. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be working for you. If they've got a job they think you're suitable for, they're going to work for you because they're on a commission basis and they want to help you out so that they can actually get paid as well. So this is where you please need to be consistent. So step 6 then is actually preparing for those interviews. So this can often be quite daunting for a lot of people like myself. Get nervous in interviews. I have done previously, and it's just one of those things that you're going to be nervous, you're going to feel uncomfortable. But again, this is where you just need to be consistent. If you're getting to the stage where you're getting interviews, that means that your resume and job applications are actually working and you're getting in front of the right people. Now you just need to get better at interviews. Most of this is a numbers game. Job applications, you need to be consistent as a numbers game. Often interviews is also a numbers game as well, and you're going to get better each time it goes on. But there are a few ways that you can try and pull out some questions, and one good way is to, again, go back to ChatGPT or Grok and say, using this job description, can you give me some possible behavioral based and technical based interview questions? So ultimately then what we're trying to figure out then is some behavioral based questions. So they might try to put you in specific scenarios. So tell me about a time where you responded to a security alert, for example, or tell me about a time that you identified a vulnerability in a system. They're all just going to be different scenarios, and you may not have the experience with some of these questions, for example, but this is where you can draw from your projects, and you can say, this is what I did in my vulnerability management project. This is what I did in my SIEM project to respond to an alert. There's always experience that you can build from these behavioral based questions, and using the STAR method to answer them as well, describing the situation, describing the task that you did, the action that you actually took, and the result is quite a good way to be able to structure your responses to a lot of these interview questions. And it's the same for technical based questions as well. They may ask you more specific technical questions about maybe how you set up the SIEM, for example. If you worked with Microsoft Sentinel, how would you configure the SIEM to be able to detect the brute force activity? So each one of these types of questions, they're usually behavioral questions or technical based questions, and you can use something like ChatGPT to base it off the actual job description that you've used. And again, this is where you're using the job description to actually try and figure out what they're going to ask you, because most likely they're always going to ask you things that are based off the job description and are actually based on your experiences from your resume and your CV as well. So this is a good way to be able to prepare for those interviews. So step 7 then, and the final step, is to actually network with people in the industry. Like I mentioned, LinkedIn is the great place to do this. Connecting with recruiters, connecting with other professionals on LinkedIn and just having a general chat with them. You don't want to be reaching out and just asking for something just for your personal gain always. Just try and have a general conversation with somebody. Maybe you've spotted something on their LinkedIn that you want to ask more about. You want to ask about the person more, and then towards the end of your conversation, you could probably ask them, do you know of any opportunities where I could get started? These are the kind of things that you need to do. As the job market is seen as more difficult, you need to think outside the box. You can't just rely on the traditional ways of applying for jobs. You need to be more passive and more aggressive when it comes to applying for these jobs, and be consistent with that as well. Also, like I mentioned, on Twitter, on X, connect with people on there. You can message people in just the same way and ask them about how they got into cybersecurity and if they have any recommendations. And obviously, you can get access to our Cyber Hub community. There's currently 8,500 people in here as of today. And this is constantly growing. It's not only beginners in here, we have cybersecurity professionals in here as well in different industries. We've got some pen testers, some AppSec team members, managers, for example. There's also us four in here as well, who've got combined 30 plus years worth of experience. We all started as cybersecurity analysts. I'm a senior cybersecurity analyst now. Vaughan is a security operations center team lead. Josh has gone more into kind of the project strategist role, but for a cybersecurity company. And Robbie has now just secured a new job as a security operations center builder. So he's actually going to be building out a security operations center, hiring analysts, training up analysts. So we've all got the experience and we know how to get started. So definitely just come in here. Come and make some posts. It doesn't cost anything to be in here. It doesn't cost anything to gain the knowledge from us. Please do come and ask us questions. And the best way is to join in the link in the description. So there we have it then. Those are the 7 steps to getting into cybersecurity in 2025 without any experience. So you always want to stay informed with what's going on in the cybersecurity industry. You want to learn your fundamentals. You want to also then look to build some practical skills from home projects, polish up your resume, and then be consistent with job applications and reaching out to people in the industry to build your network to increase those chances of you landing that job. So I want to say thank you for watching. Now, if you're interested in learning about what I do on a day-to-day basis as a cybersecurity analyst, go and watch this video next. Thank you for watching. I'll see you over there.